How's everybody doing? This is going to serve as your second lecture for Chapter 1 and the entrepreneurial process. And it's a little bit short, which is fine, but it's got a little bit good, it's got some good information in it, and it won't take too long to watch and listen. So I am going to start now. So entrepreneurship, history and examples, and we're not going to talk too much about this, but entrepreneurship itself wasn't really thought of as its own thing until the 80s. And since the 80s, it's become incredibly popular. And it's morphing as we speak. And what am I talking about when I say that? Well, entrepreneurship now is changing. You can use the internet to open up your own store and be an entrepreneur online with little to no experience. Success is variable, like it always is with entrepreneurship, but you can limit your risk in other ways, and everyone in here could start an online business selling something very easily. AliExpress and Shopify have facilitated those processes and made them incredibly easy, and we have various different markets where we can sell products. So there are 5 major components to the startup process, and they work together to create a new business. And it starts with the individual. You guys sitting in this room are the person that will start and push a business forward or fail. And most people, when they start a business, have various types of failures. But it goes from the entrepreneur, the environment that they're in, the opportunity that they see, resources around them to actually start the venture. Sometimes that's a bank account, sometimes that's the ability to raise money, and sometimes it's a different process. And the new venture that they create, that business that they start, and then I will add one more that we talked about in our video last week, one incredibly important factor, and that's timing. So we're going to start with who even is an entrepreneur and what do they look like. And I'm going to have Mr. Barron pause the video here, and he is going to play the video, and we'll come back to me talking then. So go, hit pause. All right, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that short video. Since we have this video and we have some open blanks in our bell work, here are some questions to fill our first day of bell work up. And so, Mr. Barron, pause the video again and answer these questions to the best of your ability. Let's talk about them real quick. They are based on the video, and we'll keep going from there. All right. Hope you guys knew those and had great answers and a decent discussion. And we'll talk about the startup process. The entrepreneur, that person, is the driving force of the process. They recognize opportunities, pull together resources. That includes people, capital, materials, all of those things to make them work together in order to start that business. So there are 4 categories of environmental variables, and I'm going to put them all up right now. So the nature of the environment, right? That is where you are, what's around you, and what you have. That are we in an environment that is conducive to businesses starting up and being successful and competing? Or are we in a situation where the environment is one of a monopoly, and that monopoly itself inhibits competitors from actually entering the market? That is that type of environment. What is our market environment? And then what is the availability of resources? Do we have mentors to help guide us? Can we find partners that have money to invest in our business and be a partner and have a different skill set and be very active in what we're doing? And then do we have ways to realize value? When we say that, we're thinking of those things we did in our case study that we made more value, and we added value by whatever characteristics and abilities that we have and of our product or service, or changes in the way we go to business. And now we have an incentive to create a new business. And we all have an incentive to create a new business because there's one thing we all want, in life for the most part. That is money for most of us. At some point, money is enough, and we have other incentives to create new businesses. And I think of the Gates Foundation when I kind of go down this road, is that Bill Gates started Microsoft, made a ton of money, and said, I've done enough, I need to do something else. And he started a foundation in which he's trying to cure some of the harder problems that the world has, eliminating malaria in Africa, coming up with vaccines and educating third world countries. And he's doing that with a business nonprofit that he created that's a foundation that has very wealthy people donate to it. The fund itself is invested and makes money every year, and they pull a portion of the money that it makes and invest it into various projects. But his incentive changed from what most people's incentive are, is to make some kind of money on their own. However, some people's incentive is a lack of want to work for someone else. Why give someone else the benefit or the majority of the dollars I make? Why not do it for myself? So the video before talked about some of these incentives at the end, why people start their own business. There are a number of incentives. So kind of have 5 or 6 vocab words, and then we're honestly almost done. So I'm going to put these up and we'll talk about each one of them. Enterprise zones provide incentives to actually start a business. So they're areas of the community, of a state, of a city, to provide a benefit for locating there. Communities, sometimes communities will provide grants to develop new products or developments. The United States is paying aggressively to try and get a corona vaccine. So they're creating almost like an enterprise zone. Real quick, let's see if I can find one. Alright, so I found one, and this is the New York Economic Development Incentive Program. And Empire State Development provides discretionary grants to support business attraction, expansion, and retention projects. Specific amount of the grant depends on several factors, including the level of capital investment. That's how much money is going into whatever project, the number of jobs created and or retained, the industry and nature of operations at the project site, wages and location of the project. And here are some of the benefit. A jobs tax credit of up to 6.85% of wages per net new job to cover a portion of the associated payroll tax. Investment tax credit valued at up to 2% of qualified investments. Research and development tax credit of up to 50% of federal R&D credit, up to 3% of research expenditures in New York State. So that's one going on in New York, and they are providing incentives to try and get people to come to the state, stay in the state, and work there. And all of our states, it's nice, are competing with each other for business. Some states don't have a state income tax. Florida, Washington, Texas, and I believe there's a couple more actually. They don't have any state income tax. New Hampshire does not have any sales tax. They balance out their budgets with different taxes. Some of those are property taxes. Florida has an incredible travel and tourism tax that they add on to everyone's bill. So tourists are paying for the equivalent of the state income tax. It's a way to manipulate some of the numbers. And if you're thinking about a small business or running a small business, then not paying income tax at the state level is kind of nice, because your business taxes in some forms of business, sole proprietorship or partnerships, will flow directly to your personal tax return. So not having to pay state income taxes is nice. So easy word here, opportunity is an idea that has some kind of dollar value that you can get from it. As a business group, DECA talked about before the school started whether or not we should sell face masks. That was an opportunity for us because we knew people would need them, and we could easily get some masks that support the school and have value for the person buying them and for us as a business club. And that's an opportunity. Startup resources are all of those things associated with getting going in business: the capital, the skilled labor, management expertise, legal and financial advice, facilities, equipment, and customers needed to start a business. Those are all startup resources. The new venture organization is the infrastructure or foundation that supports all the products, processes, and services of a new business. And that is the fifth component of the startup process. You have to execute it. You have to create this venture, right? It's not just saying we have a business. You actually have to do it. Sometimes that involves having a warehouse and equipment. Sometimes that's an office and a computer. It all depends on what you are doing. Okay. So we talked about H.H. Gregg filing Chapter 11, where they reorganized and hoped to come back as a business. And I believe that actually ended up failing. Chapter 7 bankruptcy is when a business disappears from the tax rolls and is a failure or a discontinuance. They have stopped operating. The creditors, i.e. the bank most of the time, or the bondholders, and we'll talk about that in another chapter, are attempting to collect money they are owed by taking assets and selling them to someone else. The business is liquidating and will no longer exist. And that's a business failure. Discontinuance is a business that disappears from the tax rolls because it may be operating under a new name or because the owner has purposely discontinued the business in order to start another. So these are the 4 steps for an entrepreneur to succeed. And honestly, this is an oversimplification of this thought process, right? It's not this easy. You can recognize opportunity, test the opportunity, assemble a team, and plan and manage effectively. Running and starting a business is going to be an up and down process. People win in certain parts, they lose in other parts. They go through growing pains in going from getting bigger. How do I get bigger? When I get bigger, does the person that I bring on instantly pay for their own salary, right? If I bring on someone into my business and they cost $50,000 a year, are they instantly making me $50,000? These are the decisions a business has to decide. And imagine being one person and maybe you're doing, $40,000 worth of that $50,000 person's job. You bring them on so you can free up that space of your time so you can think or be able to do and make more money. But you have to make a decision as the owner. Is this person worth it, and are they going to make me money, or should I just be working 7 days a week and doing everything? Those are decisions business owners have to decide. So I'm going to stop here. We're going to talk about other things. We're going to have a good week, and I believe we have a test ready to go later this week. So I hope this was short and easy and painless, and if you have any questions, give me a shout.